Hello, I'm Will and this is Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we'll be looking at issue 76 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine, which came with the parts to complete our Field Ordnance Battery for the Astra Militarum Combat Patrol. So we'll be getting that painted up, and it will deploy in its first game, where it'll be trying to hold off hordes of Tyranids. So in the magazine we start off with its painting guide. We had the build guide in the previous issue where it suggested you do keep them in the sub-assemblies shown here to make them easier to paint. And it also suggests you use some unbranded sticky tack to cover the places where those things will be glued on later so that you don't get paint on them. Otherwise the glue will stick to the paint and not to the plastic. But then we're painting everything in the same way as we've painted all our other Cadians. The only additional part is the guns themselves, so I'll focus mainly on those. The carriage and gun shield are painted Caliban green like the guardsman's armour, as well as the crates, and then lead belcher as a base coat for all of the parts you don't want to paint green, essentially. Things like the retractable legs, the barrels of the rocket launcher itself, the gunner's seat, and so on. Caliban green, wraithbone, and Catachan flesh for the majority of the parts on the guardsman, just like the Cadian shock troops. They're a bit of Mephiston red or Macragge blue for things like lenses and screens, Corax white for the markings on the crew, and Rakarth flesh if you gave the unit sergeant a chart. Then shading almost all of it with Nuln oil for the entire gun, the green and the silver parts, and then armour and leather parts on the crewmen. Agrax earth shade for a couple of other bits, including their fatigues. Reikland flesh shade for pale skin. Then highlights, mostly pallid witch flesh for the fatigues and the chart. Night Questor flesh for any dark skin and for the leather. Caliban green to relayer the green parts, and then Auric flesh to highlight them. Stormhost silver for the silver areas, and Wild Rider red or Calgar blue for red and blue screens or lenses. Mechanica standard grey for the black parts, and it suggests to dry brush the tyres with Mechanica standard grey as well. Administratum grey for other black parts that you want to be a slightly different colour. White scarf for the white rank markings. And then how to glue together the sub-assemblies where you'd previously put on sticky tack. And you can arrange the crew and the accessories however you like to make a little diorama on the base that looks like an artillery crew in action. And then you'll want to base them using Astra granite. We need quite a lot of that for these bases because they're quite big. And there they are finished. That is actually all of the work that needs to be done on these. Then we have some background on the Indomitus Crusade, launched on the initiative of the Primarch Rabute Guilliman to retake territory lost by the Imperium after the opening of the Great Rift and re-establish stability. And the Astra Militarum, being by far the Imperium's largest fighting force, made up the bulk of the forces of that crusade. And there are many individual stories of heroism from the Astra Militarum, even though they're not as fated as the Space Marines or the Adeptus Custodes or the Adeptus Sororitas. They nevertheless perform many great deeds to defy the foes of the Imperium. And here are some of their greatest heroes. We have Ursula J. Creed, the most senior officer of the Cadian shock troops and brilliant tactician. Minka Lesk, the commander of the Cadian 101st Regiment, known as an honourable and compassionate leader. We have Ibram Gaunt, who is a highly unusual rank of Colonel Commissar, leads the Tanith 1st and Only Regiment, who have been mentioned before, I believe. As well as holding an unusual rank, he's also an unusual character for a Commissar, being well respected by his men and taking great pains to avoid needless casualties, and the regiment specialise in light infantry and reconnaissance operations. Nork Dedog is in fact an Ogryn, a large ab-human, who usually are a bit too dim for anything other than brute force, but being an unusually bright example, he's renowned as a bodyguard for high-ranking officers and has saved the lives of many famous figures. Severina Rain is another commissar, but unlike Ibram Gaunt, is a strict disciplinarian who will think nothing of executing those who fail to follow orders or display competence in the field, because she is utterly devoted to the cause of the Emperor. And then a couple who have fallen in the line of duty. Firstly, Asaka Creed, predecessor and father to Ursula Creed, as Lord Castellan of the Cadian regiments, who held the planet of Cadia long enough for many regiments to evacuate before it was destroyed. And Sebastian Yarrick, another famous commissar and nemesis of the Orc warlord Ghazghkull Thraka, who successfully defended the planet of Armageddon from the Orc onslaught on 2 occasions. Now believed dead and fated as a great martyr, although recent events have suggested he might not be quite as dead as previously advertised. Anyway, that's it for the content of this issue. So I'll hand you over to Mike now, who will be taking us into our game for this issue.
So before we get into today's game, we can look at the datasheet for our new Field Ordnance Battery. So it's got a 4-inch move, toughness 5, 4 plus save, 6 wounds, leadership 7 and an OC of 2. That's per model, because obviously it's 2 models in the unit. One model has the Bombast Field Gun, which has blast, heavy, indirect fire with a 48-inch range, D6 shots, hitting on 5, strength 7, AP -1, damage 2. The other one has the Malleus Rocket Launcher, which is heavy and blast, also has a 48-inch range, for D6 plus 6 attacks, hitting on 5, strength 6, AP -1, 1 damage. It's not particularly clear, but each model also has a las gun and a las pistol, which are the same as the las weapons we've seen before. And then they have close combat weapons, which are just 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 3, AP 0, 1 damage. They have rearm, reload, fire, which is when the unit is affected by an order. For as long as they remain stationary this turn, any weapons with the heavy keyword have sustained hits 1. And in the declare battle formation step in combat patrol games, you can split them into 2 groups of 1 model if you want to try and spread your artillery out. So back to the current issue. First up, there is a campaign game for the Astra Militarum versus the Genestealer cults, which is taking place on Scorched Earth. And it's got the victory outcomes overleaf. And then we can get into today's game, which is Rain Down Fire, where some Tyranids are attacking a Astra Militarum artillery position, and hopefully the thundering guns of the Astra Militarum will be able to thin them out before they can reach the Acadian lines. So we've got 2 battle acts, as we'll see in a bit. The Astra Militarum player has the Field Ordnance Battery, 2 units of Acadian shock troops, and the command squad, which must be attached to one of those 2 squads. And then the Tyranids have the Winged Tyranid Prime, 1 unit of 15 termagants, and the Barb Gaunts, and we'll also put down 6 terrain cards. Then the Astra Militarum player places their units in their deployment zone, then the Tyranids deploy in their deployment zone. Players roll off to see who goes first. It says now the player may take secondary objectives in this scenario, which implies we can have enhancements and stratagems. Although the magazine hasn't told us about the Astra Militarums yet, so we'll see what we'll do about that. But the game lasts for 5 battle rounds, and if 1 or more Tyranid units are in the overrun or Astra Militarum deployment zones, at the end of the 5th battle round the Tyranids win, otherwise the Astra Militarum player wins. So you can see our 2 battle mats. The Tyranids deployment zone is on the right-hand quarter. The overrun zone is effectively the left-hand quarter, and the Astra Militarum deployment zone is half of that. And then we just got some tutorials on the rules for the Field Ordnance Battery. So you've got the rearm, reload, fire. So it gives the 2 main weapons of the Ordnance Battery sustained hits 1 if they've stayed still and have been given an order by the officer. Indirect fire, which allows a model to shoot at targets even if it can't see them. So the Bombast Field Gun, it can shoot at the Barb Gaunts even though they're behind a piece of terrain. But in that case, the Bombast Field Gun gets -1 to its hit rolls and the target has the benefit of cover. And then both of the Rocket Launcher and the Bombast Field Gun have blast, so obviously that's +1 attack for every 5 models in a unit, so you get even more if you're attacking the termagants. And then the victory outcomes here, and obviously no draw outcome, because either the Tyranids will be in the overrun zone or they won't be. So you can get the board set up and get straight into it. So here we are set up for Rain Down Fire with the Tyranids on the right and the Astra Militarum on the left. And we've got some terrain set out, decent amount of cover and line of sight blocking. And we're not going to take any enhancements. We are going to allow the Tyranids to use stratagems just because we think it's stacked against them. And bringing termagants back might be necessary. If it does turn out that makes things too easy, we'll comment on it I suppose. So here we can see our brave Astra Militarum.
So I've attached the command squad to the shock troops with the grenade launcher and the plasma gun because it's slightly more effective, and then near the Field Ordnance Battery so the officer can issue them orders. The other squad with the melter gun and flamer is on the other side.
Let me here give you a bit of a close-up of the Field Ordnance Battery. And here we have the Tyranids. So the Tyranid Prime is hidden behind the train piece surrounded by termagants, with the Barb Gaunts over there. Obviously out of range, we're probably just going to be moving up in the first turn I expect. And then we just roll off to see who goes first. With a 5, so means the Tyranids go first. On to Tyranids turn 1. So here you can see my movement. The Tyranid Prime just moving up normally to hide behind that cargo container. The other 2 units just advanced. Termagants coming around the train piece. I think running down the middle in front of the artillery is a bad plan, while the Barb Gaunts are just going to move and have to take cover in that crater. But that's going to be it for my turn. On to Astra Militarum turn 1.
So in the command phase I issued Take Aim to the artillery pieces, improving their ballistic skill by 1, and they haven't moved so they'll get the benefit of heavy as well. And then the guardsmen have just moved to form a blockade around the artillery pieces so the Tyranid Prime can't get in and tie them up, hopefully. But they can see the Barb Gaunts to shoot at. There are a few las guns in range and such, so we're actually going to start with the Acadians, because they can't see the termagants, whereas the artillery in theory could indirect fire at them. We'll start with a crack grenade from the grenade launcher. I won't supercharge the plasma gun, incidentally. Hits on a 4. Oh, it did. Strength 9, so wounds on a 2. Yes, that -2 AP.
-1 because of the cover is a 5-up save. All made it. 1 shot from the plasma gun on a 4. Missed. And 8 shots from las guns and the sergeant's auto gun on 4s. 4 hits winning on 5s. 1. 3-up save, I believe. I've got 4 anyway, so they should be fine.
The other squad had 3 las guns that could see, but they didn't do any wounds, so that just leaves the Field Ordnance Battery, which will shoot at the barbed gaunts as well. We'll leave the termagants for now, because it's still quite a long way away. Both artillery pieces can see them directly, so I don't need to use indirect fire. Start with the bombast field gun. D6 shots with blast, so D6 plus 1, because there are 5 of them. 2 shots, but I think I'll actually re-roll that with a command point into 2 shots. These hit on 3s, because base 5 plus, plus 1 for heavy, but then plus 1 ballistic skill that does stack. They both hit, wounding on 3s because it's strength 7. No wounds. And then the Malleus rocket launcher, which is D6 plus 6, plus 1, so D6 plus 7. 11 shots, hitting on 3s as well, and they are sustained hits 1, yes, because they do have an order on them. 3 misses, but 3 sustained, so that's 11 hits. Wounding on 3s because these are strength 6. These 6 wounds at -1.
4 up because we've got cover. Saved 3, so that's 3 wounds going through, so 1.5 dead. So that'll be it for Astra Militarum turn 1. On to Tyranids turn 2. Well, in my movement phase, Tyranid Prime's going to go straight in, see if we can assassinate that officer with Epic Challenge.
But when he moves, I'll fire Overwatch with the Field Ordnance Battery. And orders last until the start of your next command phase, so they are still under the effect of the order. It's not going to make them hit better, but it does give them sustained hits 1 still from their own special rule. D6 shots from the bombast field gun. 3. So hitting on 6s, but these will be sustained hits 1 if they do hit. Nope, they don't. And D6 plus 6 from the rocket battery. 9. Hitting on 6s. 1 6, so that's 2 hits. Wound on 3s. Nope.
The termagants advance, and I re-rolled a 1 into a 1, so it's going to take them a little while to get into the action, although a few of them can shoot this turn. Well, the barbed gaunts are all in range of the bigger group of Catians, so they'll shoot at them.
And I'm going to go to ground with that squad.
So 4d6 shots each, plus 3 each for blast, so it's 4d6 plus 12. 27 shots. First batch of 14 hitting on 3s. 8 hits from the first batch. 17 hits, wounding on 3s. 13 wounds.
13 4 plus saves, thanks to go to ground. Failed 7, and then we have a 6 plus feel no pain. Made 1, so 6 go down.
And the termagants, 3 of them were in range of the other Cadian squad, so they did some shooting. Actually got 2 kills, which isn't too bad for 3 termagants. Then onto the charge phase, where the Tyranid Prime is just going to charge the Cadian squad with the command squad in it. I could be greedy and try and get into the artillery team, but I want to try and kill the officer, really. Don't need a high roll. I rolled a 5, which wouldn't have been enough to get me to the artillery team, so I made the correct choice, I believe. So it's just going in like that. Then I'm going to spend a CP for Epic Challenge to give the Tyranid Prime precision on his attacks, so I can put them on the officer. 6 attacks on 2s. They all hit. Strength 6, so wounded on 2s. 6 wounds at -1.
Well, it's all the same save in the whole unit, so I'll roll all the saves together because they're all going to be on 6s. Made 2, so 4 go through, but applying these 1 at a time to the officer, who only has 3 wounds. So feel no pain's 2 at a time because it's 2 damage each. Makes 1, so he's down to 2. And then dies. And then 2 more people will be hit for 2 damage each, so feel no pains, no, and almost. So he kills the officer and 2 more guardsmen. So just 4 veterans and 2 normal guardsmen left, and they're going to pile in. And we'll attack with a power fist first. 3 attacks on 4s. 2 hits, wounding on 3s. 2 wounds at -2 AP.
6 is to save. All made 1. 2 damage though.
And then we've got 8 attacks from close combat weapons, because the veterans have 2 attacks each, hitting on 4s. 3 hits, wounding on 5s, nothing.
But that'll be the end of Tyranids turn 2, on to Astra Militarum turn 2.
No more orders, thanks to the death of the officer, and the remnants of the big squad need to take a battle shock test, which they pass with a 7. So the command squad will fall back, the other squad coming across to hopefully deal with, but if not, then at least just tie up the Tyranid Prime for another turn or so, keep them away from the artillery, who are obviously going to stay stationary. And in the shooting phase, I'll do the squad of shock troops with the melter gun, shooting everything at the Tyranid Prime. Start with the melter gun on a 4. No, let's re-roll that. It hit, wound on a 3, strength 9, that's a wound at -4.
It goes through.
So it'll be D6 plus 2 damage because it's a melter gun and it's within half range. 6.
So he gets fried by the melter gun.
So just the artillery left to shoot. We're going to do the bombast field gun into the barbed gaunts and the Malleus rocket launcher into the termagants. Field gun has D6 shots. 5. Hitting on 4s now because we don't have the benefit of the order and no sustained hits. 3 hits though. Wounding on 3s. 1.
4 up. Failed, so that is the wounded one will die.
And then D6 plus 9 shots against the termagants because there are 15 of them. 12. Hitting on 4s. 5 hits, wounding on 2s. 4 wounds at -1.
Some of them will have cover from the angle the Malice rocket launcher is shooting from, so I'll take it on those. They've got 4 saves. 2 dead termagants.
Oh, it has -1.
Oh, 4 dead termagants. So 4 dead termagants, and that will be the end of Astra Militarum turn 2. On to Tyranids turn 3. So in my movement phase, the termagants are advancing. Next turn, if any of them live, I hope to be able to tie up the artillery piece.
But the squad of guardsmen with the flamer will fire Overwatch. Starting with the flamer, D6 hits. 5. Wounding on 3s. 3 wounds.
5 up saves. Made 1, so that's 2 dead termagants so far.
Melter gun on 6. Nope. 11 shots with las weapons, hitting on 6s. 3 hits. Wounding on 4s. 2 wounds.
5 up saves. Fail both, so that's 4 dead termagants in total. The barbed gaunts aren't going to move just yet, so in the reinforcement step I'll spend a CP for teaming broods to bring back some termagants. And I'll bring back 3. So I'll bring them back a little bit closer. But then we'll be on to the shooting phase, where the barbed gaunts are going to go after the squad with the flamer and the melter gun. D6 plus 1 each, so 14 shots hitting on 3s, 10 hits, wounding on 3s. It's only 4 wounds.
5 plus. Save 2, so 2 dead.
Termagants will shoot at the same unit, and they got 5 hits and 5 wounds.
So 5 plus saves. Only made 1, so another 4 die.
So just a flamer and a las gun left in that squad. But that's be it for the Tyranids turn. On to Astra Militarum turn 3.
Battle shock test for those 2 guardsmen. They fail, and the command squad are fine. The command squad are going to move forward into the crater. The 2 battle shock guardsmen have moved behind them in the crater. So we're straight to shooting, where I'll do those 2 remaining guardsmen with the flamer at the termagants. Flamer has D6 shots. 2. Can't re-roll it because they're battle shocked. 2 wounds.
5 up. 2 dead.
And a las gun. It's a hit. No wound. Then we'll do a crack grenade and a supercharged plasma gun from the command squad into the barbed gaunts, and the rest of that squad shooting into the termagants.
I'm going to spend a CP for hyper-reactive on the termagants, so they might want to hit.
Crack grenade, missed. Plasma gun, missed. Might re-roll that, I think. Don't really have much use for the command points otherwise. That now hit. Wounds on a 3. Or 2 rather, because it's strength 8. It does, at -3 for supercharge.
So 6 up. No, 2 damage, so that's 1 dead.
Then a bolt pistol at the termagants, which hits on a 5 and fails to wound. And 6 las gun shots on 5s. 1 hit, which doesn't wound, and a hazardous roll for the plasma gun. He's fine. Finally, the Field Ordnance Battery. Once again, the field gun into the barbed gaunts, the Malice rocket launcher into the termagants. And they do actually have las guns as well, so those will go into the termagants. I forgot about them in the previous turn, but I don't think it mattered very much. Field gun, D6 shots, just 1, which missed. Rocket launcher, there are still 5 of them, so that's going to be 12 shots. Hitting on 5s. 6 hits, wounding on 2s. 4 wounds at -1.
So 6s. Made 1s, 3 dead termagants.
And 4 las gun shots from them as well, which all miss. Finally, the command squad will charge the termagants. Need about a 4. They get a 5, it should be enough. So they make their charge like that, mainly just to tie up the termagants so they can't charge the Field Ordnance Battery next turn. Then we have a Power Fist on 4s. 2 hits. 2s. No, only kills 1.
Squished 1 of them.
And 10 attacks from close combat weapons. 6 hits on 4s. 2.
5 up saves. Fail both, so we're down to 2 termagants. Termagants get a hit back, we might as well show it. Hit on 4s. Get a hit. Hit wounds on 4. Nope. That will be the end of Astra Militarum turn 3. On to Tyranids turn 4. So we need a battle shock test for the termagants. So they fail with a 6, but I will spend a CP for insane bravery so that they can fall back without taking any casualties. So the 2 termagants will fall back, actually getting into the overrun zone, and the 2 barbed gaunts are going to move up as well. They do have to advance to get into the zone, but you never know, they might be able to sneak in.
But I will overwatch them with the Field Ordnance Battery when they do move. The field gun, D6 shots, 5. Hitting on 6s. Nope. And the rocket battery, 12 shots. Also on 6s. 4 hits. Moving on 3s. 3 wounds at -1.
5 up saves. Made 1, so we're down to 1 barbed gaunt. Also, they had to make a battle shock test, I'll just roll that for them now. so they are actually battle shocked. And then at the end of the movement phase, I'll spend a CP for teeming broods again to bring back D6 termagants. Only one. So one termagant coming back. They fell back, so they can't shoot. So the one remaining barb gaunt is going to fire at the command squad. D6 plus 1 shots. 6. Hitting on 4s. Only one hit. Wounds on a 3. It does.
5 plus? No. 6 plus? No.
So that'll be it for Tyranids turn 4 and Astra Militarum turn 4.
The 2 remaining guardsmen remained battle shocked, the command squad passed again, and then those 2 guardsmen have just moved to block off 9-inch arrival zones for any termagants that come back next turn, because if I destroy the termagant unit, a new unit can appear with teeming broods from strategic reserves, and the command squad ran for the same reason to prevent them from coming in the overrun zone. They'd have to appear outside it and make a 9-inch charge. But because the command squad advanced, they can't shoot, so we've just got the 2 guardsmen and the ordnance battery. The 2 guardsmen will shoot the termagants first.
They'll spend a CP for hyperreactive, so they're marked on to hit.
Won't affect the flamer, but which gets 4 hits and 4 wounds.
So 5 up saves. Made 3 of them, so that's 1 dead.
And 2 lasgun shots, which both miss. And then once again we'll do the rocket launcher into the 2 termagants and lasguns into the termagants as well. Field gun into the remaining barb gaunt. Field gun has 3 shots, hitting on 4s. Oh, only 1. Wounds on a 3. It does, at -1.
So 5 up. Failed and no reroll because it's battle shock, so the barb gaunts are wiped out.
And the rocket battery, D6 plus 6. 7, I think I'll reroll this. 12. Still hitting on 5 though. 4 hits, wounding on 2s. Oh, only 2 wounds, -1, so a single 6 will kill them.
Single 6, so it's down to the lasguns from the squad.
Which hit on 5s. 1, wounds on a 4. It does.
5 up. No, so the termagants are wiped out. Well, that'll be the end of Astra Militarum turn 4. On to Tyranids turn 5. So you can spend a CP for teeming broods. So we'll add a unit of termagants with 2d6 models. So I got 8 termagants back, and I'm going to bring them in here, 9 inches away from that guardsman with the flamer.
But you can overwatch when a unit is set up. Not with the flamer, sadly, because they're battle shocked, but the Field Ordnance Battery can. 6 plus 1 from the field gun. 7. On 6s. 1 hit. Wounds on 2. Yes, at -1.
Some of them would have cover, so 5. That's 1 dead.
And D6 plus 7 from the rocket battery. 11 on 6s. 1. Wounds on a 2. Yes.
-1 with cover. Saved.
And 2 lasguns. Missed.
Then the termagants aren't going to shoot, because basically you need to make a 9-inch charge to get into the zone and have a chance of winning. So charging those 2 guardsmen, we get 7, which I'll re-roll, into a 3, so the termagants won't make it. So that will mean this will be an Astra Militarum victory, because the Tyranids aren't in the zone, but we might as well put out the last Astra Militarum turn, see if they can vaporise those remaining gaunts.
Well, both squads ended up battle shocked. The flamer squad aren't going to move too close to the termagants because they can move away. The command squad moving up so they can be in range. And then obviously just shoot everything at the termagants. I might as well start with the Field Ordnance Battery. Bombast field gun.
Hey, we'll spend a CP for hyperreactive as well.
Oh yeah. 4 shots with the field gun on 5s, so 2 hits. And 2 wounds.
1 guy with cover, you never know, he might live. Nope. And then another guy has a 6 up. Nope, it's 2 dead.
Rocket battery, 13 shots. 5s. 6 hits, wounding on 2s. 6 wounds at -1.
6s. Fail them all, so the termagants will be wiped out. With the termagants gone, the Astra Militarum is definitely victorious, and we'll recap that game for you now. So that was the game for issue 76 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine. How do you think that went?
Well, obviously I won, so it went pretty well. I feel like my tactics mostly worked okay, which was to obviously shoot as much as possible, but then countercharge things that got into the overrun zone, and then managing to kill the termagants and then screen them off at the end. It is a bit strange that they don't say you can't use stratagems. They specifically say don't use secondary objectives, but don't mention anything else. But then the Astra Militarum don't have their stratagems yet, or they haven't been introduced in the magazine, nor the enhancements. So whether that stratagem should should have been available is not entirely clear, but then again, I think it would have been even harder for the Tyranids if we hadn't used it.
Yeah, I suppose if you hadn't had stratagems, then there wouldn't be any Overwatch from the Astra Militarum, but...
And I think things went pretty well for the Tyranids anyway, like being able to precision kill the officer so that I lost my orders after only one turn, and then killed quite a lot of guardsmen with the barb gaunts, for example. So I was playing with reduced capabilities anyway. If those things hadn't happened, I think my firepower would have just been even more effective.
Yeah, and it would have taken a long time for the Tyranid Prime to fight through all of the guardsmen to get to the officer.
And I would have still fallen back and then just shot him. Yes, I got one melter gun shot, which just killed him, but all of the guards shooting directed at him would probably take him out anyway. Yeah, and I think the artillery did perform fairly well. It took a turn or two to warm up. I think the first round of shooting wasn't very effective. But once it got going, it did start to blow some holes in the Tyranid lines, even without the benefits of an order and getting the sustained hits and +1 ballistic skill.
Yeah, and I think they're kind of the same. Strength 6 versus Strength 7 isn't a huge jump, really. Both AP-1. One has more shots but does less damage, so they're both fairly similar. Both have blast.
The one that does 1 damage with slightly lower strength is going to do, on average, more shots than the other one, so they probably work out about roughly equivalent against almost any target, really.
Yeah.
It'd only be against something whether you were winning it on 4s versus 5s, if it was toughness 7, for example.
Yeah, and the 2 damage will kill off Marines.
Yeah, they're also effectively 2 of the 3 heavy guns you get with the Astra Militarum Patrol, the other being the Armoured Sentinel, which we'll be getting. They're the things that need to do the damage, because, as we've seen, the Cadian squads, their special weapons can be effective if they actually hit, but most of the time it's just a lot of las guns that don't really do much to anything tougher than a termagant. So these are what you need to deal with heavier targets, and particularly vehicles, although, as we may see, that might be a bit of a weakness of the Astra Militarum Combat Patrol, is things that can really deal with the high toughness 2+ save vehicles, because these are still only AP-1.
Yeah, there's something like the Rock Grinder or the Death Dread.
And even the Armoured Sentinel isn't really configured for dealing with those either, so we'll have to see. But yeah, they're going to be good at, particularly against light infantry, because of the number of shots and blast. They're both things that chuck more dice at the enemy, which that's just how the Astra Militarum Patrol works, really. It's a lot of shooting.
Yeah, and they're toughness 5, and they've got 6 wounds each with a 4-up save, so they're reasonably beefy by the standards of the Guard Combat Patrol.
Obviously, their main weakness is if they get tied up in melee by something like the Tyranid Prime, because they can't fight back, they can fall back, and can't shoot if that happens. So tying them up in melee is the way to deal with them.
Yeah, but they have the range that you can literally sit them in your deployment zone for the entire game. Once we learn about the enhancements, the default enhancement basically means when you hand out an order, it hands it out to all of your units, so that makes it so you don't have to babysit the artillery the whole time, and you might actually consider splitting them up as well, just to cover fields of fire. There are probably situations where you might want to use indirect fire. Not entirely sure when. I guess you could try and hide the bombast field gun and use indirect fire for the entire game, because with sustained hits you're still going to do a decent amount of damage, although the target does get cover, and it's already in cover, I suppose.
And yeah, assuming you don't take that enhancement, you would have to keep the officer near them to issue them orders.
Yeah, the other enhancement is specifically for them, although obviously we'll see when it comes up.
And they're great models. I like how each one is effectively a mini diorama. You've got a crewman loading or opening the shell box, and then a spotter, and the pieces you've given them, you as a guy having a look at some charts, and there's one with the binoculars pointing at something, but there are other pieces in the kit as well, so you can make them quite distinct.
And the base is large enough that you have quite a lot of space for creativity, with the sort of base that's big enough where you could do stuff like put sandbags around them and stuff like that. And there's some nice details again, like the charts, and there's like the targeting computers and stuff. Plenty of spare bits as well. And I guess if you wanted to, you might be able to get away with not putting the whole crew on, and maybe getting some extra bodies to use as extra guardsmen as well. They actually have slightly heavier armour, it looks like. They've got some more armour around their neck, not on their shoulders, because that's probably what's getting exposed mostly. So also, if you take them in a full game, you do have to take 2 at a time. I don't think you can take a single gun, so you're stuck with a set of 2 guns, which might be a little bit awkward. Although I think you have the option to give both models the same gun, so you get plenty of spare bits, and obviously good value for money, because you're getting it over 2 issues. That's still less than you get for buying both of them at the same time. But anyway, we'll definitely see more of them in the future. Leave any comments so you've been going on with the magazine. Obviously, it's finished where we are now. Combat Patrol seems to be in a bit of limbo with 11th. We don't know what's going on with that, but we will continue with this. Otherwise, we've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.